More video has come out, gentlemen, showing the altercation between a Canadian men's national team player, Ismael Kone, and his former head coach at Marseille. Are you surprised, first and foremost, that the club released this video, AGR?
Yes, yes, because like on one hand, it's fantastic content. Let's not kid ourselves. Getting all these behind the scenes looks, all these interviews. It's riveting video. But in what world does this look good on Olympique de Marseille to have their sporting director, their coach, their players show this sort of stuff like this, especially when it doesn't paint them in the greatest of lights? I know people will point and be like, this is just a peek at a elite high level sporting environment. At the same time, at least for me, I saw a toxic environment that didn't maybe benefit the players. And I know other people out there feel the same. So yes, this is wild that Olympique de Marseille are putting their stamp on it and showing this is what we're about. But I guess for those who have followed that club for a long time, it also isn't that surprising that it's them.
I don't like that this happened to Ismael Kone, a young, impressionable player. And I've said this continually on this program, that needs someone to put their arm around him and help him more so than anything else. I don't think it does the player any favors, but I can't talk out of both sides of my mouth here. Like, we often criticize the football world as being too protective, too secretive, where players go out and they make their comments, or they'll post these cryptic messages on Instagram. And we want to know more. We want to know what happened behind the scenes to help explain some of these untoward situations. And that's exactly what this does. Like, this is the hard knock style of documentary, behind the scenes footage in sports that we all want. And whenever a club releases something that's much more sanitized, we're like, well, what was that all about? This is captivating. Like, honestly, this is absolutely captivating to watch. And it explains the approach of Roberto De Zerbi, who's probably going to open himself up for a lot of criticism based upon this, the way that he treats a young player and one of his players behind the scenes. At the same time, we'd be kidding ourselves to think that this doesn't happen at clubs all over the place all the time. It's passion. There's fights. There's disagreements. There's players that get banished or sent away or completely frozen out. This is just the reality of high stakes professional football at a club like Marseille. And yeah, I don't love it that it happened to Ismael Kone, but in terms of explaining the inner workings of what it's like in the football world, this is what it's all about. And it's not always, rainbows and unicorns and sunshine and gumdrops. Like, it's just not like that. So this is the reality of the situation.
I think there are some Canadian fans who are probably proud of how Kone handled things. Let's just take the video for it. We're going to get into his struggles in a moment, because there's no denying that there's something there, because even the way Jesse Marsch has been using it with the national team. So clearly there's some struggles there. There's something up. But AJR, when I look at that video in particular, I see a guy who's in a drill, gets yelled at by his coach, maybe in the heat of the moment says something, but when the coach says hit the showers, he obeys, he listens. He's actually a good player. He's walking off, and then from behind, De Zerbi decides to yell at him and harass him even more about go call your agent. So I can understand the club wanting to get ahead of it, be transparent, because they keep talking about Marseille's up here and he's playing here. So I can see them appealing to their fan base of this guy's not giving it their all. But when you actually look at the coach, you're like, bro, he was walking off the field. You continued to instigate, and Kone stuck up for himself. Like, when you look at that kind of dynamic, do you feel like the coach is just picking on Kone because it's low-hanging fruit to do so, and it actually makes him look bad?
Yeah, I think, there's definitely feels like a bit of low-hanging fruit. On one hand, this video doesn't give us much context, right? Like, he takes an extra touch. Was he doing that for months? Was he doing that for hours? And De Zerbi, that was like the last straw. Was this just De Zerbi kind of acting out of pocket just because he wanted to make an example of someone? For Kone, though, I think what it shows, and it even, to the documentary's credit, De Zerbi and Benaccia said, like, with Ismael Kone, he's a good kid. Like, there's, maybe sometimes a bit of worry that, there's all this stuff behind the scenes. He's a troublemaker. No, like, he's a good kid. They said it. He's shown it time and time again. With Ismael Kone, it's consistency. It's training habits. It's someone who, came a bit late to the professional game, or at least the professional environment. And he's been learning on the fly, but he's just got such talent that's propelled him maybe to levels he hasn't always been ready for. And I think this reaffirms that at the end of the day, he's a good kid. He loves the game. There's some great videos of him at Rennes after this whole incident, speaking about what it meant to just, get out of that environment and enjoy his football. And this also just shows the cutthroat nature of the top level, like Wheels mentioned. This is how it is. Sometimes I don't always, like it and agree with it, but that when there's a certain standard, when you got a squad where 25 guys are so hungry to win, led by the guy at the top, it can be a bit, bloodthirsty, and it's unfortunate Kone got caught in the middle of that.
It's oftentimes how you speak to a person. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. Like, we've all heard it through our lives. And I don't think De Zerbi, the way he approached that situation was right. But if we spin it back, the series of events, like Ismael Kone joined Marseille, wasn't fully fit. And then Roberto De Zerbi on multiple occasions spoke out about this player with great potential, but he wasn't seeing it applied on a regular basis. And I think that those actions came out of frustration from the manager that Kone still wasn't doing as the manager wanted. There was criticism of Ismael Kone at Watford, just his inability to play to speed, not playing direct enough, not playing quick enough, taking too many touches. Like, this is nothing new. So when you hear Roberto De Zerbi saying that, like, I don't think that this was a one-off, Andy. Like, I think that there's a series of events where the players either not listening or not applying what the manager wants. And this is how a lot of the way a lot of modern managers want to play. You can take your extra touches, but you're going to be doing it on the training field or on the, or on the touch line and not on the field. Teams want their players to play fast. And there's a knock-on effect here, because that's exactly how Jesse Marsch wants Canada to play. And I'm looking at Ismael Kone, a player for me that's good enough to start for Canada, heading into 2026 and beyond. But for whatever reason, he's not getting off the bench against Guatemala. So, perhaps this is something that the player needs to take to heart. And his new manager, Fabio Grosso, he's a World Cup winner with Italy. He's a highly demanding coach that wants the player to play quick as well. So, although I don't like what and how De Zerbi said it, if this is what he wants to see from the player, then the player needs to apply it, or it's going to continue to play itself over and over again. A player that's inevitably frustrating his manager because he's not playing that the way that the manager wants to play.
This seems to be like that fork in the road. It's a crucial turning point for Kone, because and it's difficult, because when you're a manager, especially if you're Jesse Marsch and you're with the national team, guys need to show up and they need to be ready, because you just have a short window, whether it's, short tournament, you've got to be ready to go. But at the same time, AJR, when you kind of look at everything that we're talking about with Kone and all this potential, and he's got great skill, maybe it's just a little bit of that work ethic that he's lacking an understanding of what it takes to go from good to great. But how important is it to be more of that mentor as opposed to sit on the bench and kind of wash your hands of him?
Well, I think you got to find the right approach. And I think that's something too, where Jesse Marsch is, he's now gotten to know these guys over a year, and what works with some players doesn't work with others. I think with Ismael Kone, you kind of got to find that right balance. At the same time, he's 23 now. He's at a crucial age where he's still young. He still has a lot of heights to hit, but if he doesn't start to hit them soon, you wonder if he might find his ceiling at a certain point. That's why this Sassuolo move is so crucial. I think ideally for Jesse Marsch and for Canada, you want Ismael Kone starting next summer. Why? Because that means he's figured it out. He's shown his talent. He shows why he was such a fun prospect at the last World Cup, why, he dazzled last year against France and, convinced Marseille to spend all that money on him. But with Canada also, we have to remember they were pushing to win titles this year. And sometimes with titles, it's not about talent. It's not about flash. It's about consistency. And when guys like Mathieu Chouanière, Nico Seeger, Nathan Saliba were giving you a bit more consistency, a bit more reliability, you understand it. These friendlies are going to be telling, because I think Jesse Marsch really believes in Ismael Kone. Anytime you ask him about it, he really believes in him, but he's of the same school where he really wants to push him. And hopefully these friendlies, we can see that, because I really think Ismael Kone can be such a big player for this team.
Well, AJR, I'll push back on that, because it's one thing with the manager coming out and saying they believe in the player. It's another thing showing it Like, if Jesse Marsh actually believed in the player, he'd be playing him in games, because Canada could be better. I think they're limited without him on the field. They're a better team with him on the field. So I just think it's the application. I don't think that like he's a bad kid or there's anything like that. I think it's just about the ability to take in instructions and apply them on that level for a club of that magnitude. Remember, like, this was a player that wasn't brought up in a traditional academy system where oftentimes players become robotic in those systems as well. That's what's one of the things that's really special about him, is that he hasn't been put in that box to a certain degree, that he is creative, he is imaginative, he brings something different to the table. I think he's an absolute X factor. I think that that's brilliant. But as you step up the ranks, you know, from MLS to league championship to league, now he's in Serie A. Like, the stakes are getting higher. They're not getting lower. And there's going to be expectations that you're going to have to meet. He's going to have to rise to the challenge. And that includes playing for the national team as well. And look, like, I've been a bit critical of the process. I believe his management team believed that they were doing the best thing for him, going to bigger clubs, probably making a lot more money, affording him many more opportunities. But you need to pick the right club with the right manager. I said at that time, Watford, red flags written all over it. They change managers all the time. It's been the book on Watford. And while he was there, they changed their manager 3 times. Then they go to Marseille, which is an absolutely chaotic club, changing managers, changing presidents. Like, everything about that club is completely hectic and there's no stability there. And now he's going to a club that just got promoted from Serie B to Serie A. And if they go back down, or if they're forced to be pragmatic or sell some of their best players to abide by whatever, I worry about this next move for him. I just think that, maybe a big club in a smaller league where, yeah, there's a little bit of pressure, but still you can play at a good standard and develop your game and build some comfort level. That would have been optimal for me. So I still have questions about the moves that he's making. That's not on the player. That's on the team around him being able to pick the best spots. I hope I'm wrong on this. I really do. I hope that he hits the ground running at Sassuolo and it really works out, because this is a critical juncture for the player. 5th club in just 4 years in a brand new league as well. So he needs stability for him to realize his absolute immense potential. So fingers crossed for him. We're all rooting for him. So hoping for the best.
Yeah, a lot of eyes will be on Ismael Kone playing in Italy, to your point, and then how that will translate over to the national team under Jesse Marsh.